Now we're going to look at double processing a photo using Camera Raw, because this is another problem you're going to run into, and it's really, really handy because what you can do with this in CS3 is really remarkable. So we're going to open up a photo. This photo was taken out at Glacier National Park in Montana, and there are good things about it and bad things about it. Good thing about it is the sky looks pretty cool. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. Bad thing about it is your foreground is completely dark. Now, your human eye adjusts for this, and when you're there, it looks great. Then you open up in Photoshop, and you realize the limitations of the camera, and that the camera's going to make one or the other look good. The sky's going to look good, or your foreground's going to look good, but not both. So we're going to use CS3 to fix that. So first off, we'll start with fixing the sky, all right? So we're not going to worry about the foreground whatsoever. If it turns solid black, who cares? We're at this point just going to work on the sky. What I would do to this sky first is adjust the color. It's got reds and blues. Let's make the reds redder, the blues bluer. So let's drag the tint slider towards the magenta, towards the red. Ooh, yeah, see? Sweet. Now let's drag the temperature slider towards the left, towards blue. There we go. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's looking really nice now. All right. So we've got a nice, color temperature here. Now let's go over here to the exposure and let's lower it because it's going to probably look a little bit better, a little darker. There we go, just a little bit darker. And we can use recovery to make the whole sky look more dramatic. Watch this area down here as I drag recovery. There we go. See how it just fixed that up nicely all the way to 100. Don't need any fill light. Don't need to adjust the blacks. Don't need to adjust the brightness, contrast, maybe a little clarity for the sky. And let's try a little bit of vibrance to see what it does. Ooh, sweet. Okay, so looking pretty good. Sky's looking good. I'm not worried about the rest as long as the sky looks good. Now, to double process this, you can use a trick in CS3 that'll make this a lot easier for you, and that's to open this image as a smart object. You can't see it because I cannot make the Camera Raw screen any smaller. This is as small as Adobe will let me get it. It's like, Well, it'll go shorter, but it won't go smaller. It won't go up higher. So right below my cursor is a button that simply says Open Image. All right, just simply that, Open Image. If you hold the Shift key on your keyboard, it switches to Open Object. So now it will open in Photoshop as a smart object, and that's absolutely what you want to do, and I'll show you why here in a minute. But it's the key to double processing. So Shift, hit Open Object. And the image opens. Now I'm just going to drop the size here. You don't need to do this. This is just for the video to fit better on screen so you see the full image, okay? There we go. So that was just for me, not for you. Okay. Now it's open. Take a look in the layers palette. You can see, yep, it's a smart object, absolutely. So if I wanted to create a second version of this photo where the foreground looked good. I have one version where the sky looks good. I need to create another where the foreground looks good. If I were to duplicate this layer, I could double click on it. It brings back up Camera Raw. That's the great thing about a smart object. It brings back up Camera Raw. Then I could go and increase the exposure and try to make the ground look good. I'm just going to overdo this so you can see. Here's the problem. When you click OK, it fixes that. But it's tied to the original, so the original's messed up now. So, although now I can see some of the mountains, it also messed up my original. So let's forget that. Let's undo that. Press Command-Z on Mac or Control-Z on PC and throw that away. Instead, here's what you're going to do. You need to break that chain. You need to break the fact that when you duplicate a smart object that they're tied to each other. You do that by control-clicking right over here by the name, control-clicking, or on PC, right-clicking, and choose New Smart Object via Copy. This makes a copy of the smart object, but it breaks the chain. So now you have two copies that are both completely editable. They're both completely lined up, pixel for pixel, right on top of each other, but they're editable individually. Watch, double-click on here. Now we can go make our changes to make the ground look good. So we would get rid of the recovery, get rid of the blacks, maybe increase the fill light, certainly, so you can see a little bit of the ground. There we go. Let's increase the vibrance so the ground really looks reflective. See how the waters are reflecting those colors much nicer now? And let's increase the exposure. Now, I know a lot of things look bad here. The sky looks horrendous, but remember, we're not worried about the sky. We're just concerned about this area down here. And let's see, anything else we need to do here? Oh, looks okay. We click OK. Now, when I click OK, watch what happens. That's right. It fixes the top layer, but it leaves the bottom layer alone. So look, Now I've got two versions of my photo. Down here, one with the great sky. Up here, one with the foreground you can actually see. Our job is to process them so it's all one photo. And it lets you create an image that your camera actually couldn't really capture. So we're going to first start off by holding the Option key on Mac or the Alt key on PC and hiding this brighter version behind the mask. All right, so it's actually hidden behind there. So that's the trick, is we're going to reveal. Now you could go and just paint, right? You could go and just say, all right, well, we'll just paint in this mountain. We'll set your foreground color to white and you'll paint in the new color. But it's going to be hard to make it exactly right and get it right along those lines. So instead you can use a CS3 trick. Click back on the photo layer itself so you're off the mask and you're on the photo, and go grab the Quick Selection tool. An amazing tool for making selections. You just click and drag and it says, oh, you want this stuff here? Great. That's it. That's it. We selected the mountains. Easy as can be. Now click back on your mask and simply make sure white is your foreground color and fill with white. Option, delete. And it fills that area with white. Now it's way too much. It's way too bright. You can see the edge pretty heavy and all. So what you're going to do is you're going to go back and lower this, make it more realistic. Something more like that. There we go. So there's just a hint of the light coming in. You don't want it to be too obvious. All right, something like that. But now you've created an image that your camera actually could not create. You've gone beyond what your camera's sensors can do, and you've created an image that is beyond that. Now, at this point, I might go and create and add some sharpening and, flatten the image or whatever, and then do sharpening to finish this off, because there's really not that much more we need to do. And to do that, you could go and just, of course, apply an unsharp mask, right? Or you can convert it for a smart filter. Now you have an editable unsharp mask, okay? Then here's this little warning. I always hit this thing, don't show again, because I don't want it to show again. All right? Now you go filter, sharpen, unsharp mask. Brings up the dialog box as always. We can decide how much sharpening we want. Maybe that might be a little bit much. We'll drop it down to 3. There we go. Nice punchy sharpening for a landscape. All right. And then I've got all of the ability to adjust this. It's over sharpened because this is a low res photo. Well, that's okay. I can fix that, right? Double click. It brings back up this. And you can go, wow, I really over sharpened that. Let's bring this up to 4. Bring that down to like 80-ish. All right. Yeah, much better. And then if there's areas that got over sharpened, you can just say, you know what? I really don't want to sharpen these areas right along the ridge because it's looking a little too sharp. So make sure your foreground color set to black. And we're going to not sharpen that area right there because it's kind of giving us a little glow there. Not sharpen that area. And if you wanted to, you could change the opacity. You have all the things as if you just applied the unsharp mask as an adjustment layer. All right, so there's a little bit of double processing. We're going to look at the printing process, and we're going to put the whole thing together.